Hello and welcome to the Reel Schmooze. I'm your host, Amanda Borschel-Dan, here with our movie maven, Jordan Hoffman, here to bring you all the entertainment news and film reviews a Jew can use.
That's good.
I kind of remembered it, right, Jordan?
You thought it up off the dome last time, so it's pretty good. I'm impressed still.
And how do you like your new title, movie maven?
I'll take it. I always love an alliteration, you know? I mean, it's always good.
Who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And so this week we are going to bring you some entertainment news with specific jangles, and we're also going to speak about two films. One is called Bad Shabbos, and the other is called The History of the World Part 1. And I did my homework. I saw both of these films. How about you, Jordan?
I watched Bad Shabbos, which I had not seen. I did not have time to watch History of the World Part 1 again but luckily I've seen it about 400,000 times. So I'm pretty eager to talk about it. And for new listeners chiming in, that's, as a general rule, what we're going to try to do is take one classic, in this case, Mel Brooks's History of the World Part 1, and then something new. And Bad Shabbos is relatively new. It is available, though, to stream. It's not in theaters right now. But as a general rule, we're going to try to do one and one. Some weeks we may just do one film when we don't have time to watch both, or there's something really big. But that's kind of the general Reel Schmooze philosophy here.
That's right. Something newish that's Jewish. So we're going to talk about all of that and more when we're back.
I was worried, or I still am, about Mandani because it was interesting. I was following this, of course, and here's a guy, a young man who's running on a platform of affordable housing and free buses and community grocery shops. And it's not that he's interested in geopolitics. He didn't speak about women's rights in Iran. He didn't speak about the Uyghurs in China. He didn't speak about the hunger in Sudan, by the way, a much larger tragedy than the one occurred here in Israel and Gaza. But he was really, really persistent about talking about what is happening in Israel. So it's not that he's a humanitarian or somebody who's really preoccupied with geopolitical problems. He was just focused on us, and therefore we have a name for people who are focused on the Jews and what the Jews are doing. And therefore I was worried about the fact that he was elected and about the way he was campaigning about Israel and the Jews.
I'm Amanda Borschel-Dan, here with our movie maven, Jordan Hoffman. So, Jordan, what kind of news from the underground have you brought me today?
From the underground? Well, first of all, I just want to say, we are recording this we have a little bit of time differential between the two of us. I'm in the New York City area and you are in the Jerusalem area. And so that means one of us has to get up the crack of dawn, and I volunteer. And last night I got home really, really late because, and this is a late-breaking bulletin,
okay,
for all who's listening. I was at a pretty big event screening last night in New York City. I got a chance to see something significantly early, and I'm still a little bit in the afterglow of the film, so I'm raving about it. I think it's the best movie of the year, but be that as it may, it's certainly the most Jewish movie of the year. So I want all the listeners to put a pin in this because it's not coming out in North America until December 25, also known as Christmas Day. And I don't know
that it's a day for watching movies and eating Chinese food.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
As we've written about before, I believe one Christmas Day, I wrote for Times of Israel a review of various kosher Chinese restaurants around New York City. I hopped around and had some pretty rubbery chicken. It's coming out Christmas Day. I don't know when it's going to be coming out by you. Sometimes it's the same as in North America. Sometimes it's not. Anyway, the movie is called Marty Supreme. And Marty Supreme stars a nice Jewish boy named Timothée Chalamet, who was Bob Dylan last year. He wears a Star of David necklace throughout most of the film and is directed by Josh Safdie, who is a nice Jewish boy from Queens. And it is loaded with Jewish faces, famous and not so famous, from TV's Fran Drescher, who plays Timothée Chalamet's mom, to underground New York figures like Larry Ratso Sloman, who's not a household name but really should be. And it is hilarious. Very divisive film, too. 50% of the audience loved it like me. I was doing cartwheels, and 50% were like, oh my God, it's so loud. They're screaming at each other. It's 2.5 hours of Jews screaming at each other. It is phenomenal. So that is my favorite movie of 2025, and we will be discussing it on a future episode of the Reel Schmooze, probably early January by the time you get to see it.
Okay, but we have another piece of news, actual entertainment news in a way, which is we got finally the Pope, the THE Pope, his favorite movies out of Hollywood, and I think it was his top 5. And
he gave his top. Well, this is very interesting to me, anyhow, because the Pope, the new Pope, Pope Leo. Hey, Leo the Pope. He's from Chicago. I don't know his pre-Pope name. Leo, I learned, by the way, is a very popular Pope name. Maybe we haven't had one in our lifetime, but I think it ranked 3rd of all the popular Pope names. And, I don't spend much time thinking about the Pope. I'm sure let the Pope do his thing. He seems like a good guy. But anyway, he had a summit where he asked a lot of Hollywood people to come have an audience with him. And a lot of household names showed up. I was scanning. I couldn't find a definitive list of all the people who were at the event. But I did see there were a couple of Jews there. Judd Apatow, the writer and producer, who does all Step Brothers and movie
40-Year Virgin,
40-Year Virgin, and a lot of television shows that everybody loves. All the Seth Rogen movies and whatnot. He's involved. Very funny dude. And the actress Alison Brie from Mad Men, she was there also. She's Jewish. And then there's a lot of other kind of well-known Hollywood people. But anyway, he also announced, he did 2 interesting things. He announced his 4 favorite movies. And what I found interesting is that 3 of the 4 are to me, I think of them as very Jewish films. And they are as follows. I'll give them in chronological order. The first one is "It's a Wonderful Life," which is the one goyish pick on the title, on the 4. I have "It's a Wonderful Life." Have you seen "It's a Wonderful Life," Amanda?
I grew up watching really old movies, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's fine. "It's a Wonderful Life" is not my favorite. I find it to be a little corny, maybe, but it's charming. It's Merry Christmas Movie House and the Zuzu's pedals and all that. That's fine. Then he chose the next one. Let me do it again in order. Yes, The Sound of Music is another sort of big classic, right? But The Sound of Music is, on one level, an anti-Nazi film, right? There's a very famous image of Christopher Plummer ripping the Nazi flag in half. And
I mean, not just on one level, Jordan. The whole film is anti-Nazi. They run away from the Nazis. Spoiler.
That's true.
But I just have to say, for our family, it's one of those films that you only watch the first half, because in the second half it gets really dark. But the first half has all the great scenes and the puppet show and all that kind of stuff. So
Lonely Goat. Yeah, I'm just I just want to check if it actually was Christopher Plummer, because
it was.
It was okay, good, because maybe we leave this in. I did throw out a fact error last week. When I speak off the dome, I sometimes get a fact incorrect, and I want to the Pope is infallible. When he speaks, it's okay, but I'm not infallible, so I will sometimes throw out a fact error when I don't need to. So yes, so he picked Sound of Music. I mean, that's it's a big classic, and the music is famous, and Julie Andrews spinning around in the Alps is nice. But it is an anti-Nazi film, and of course, I'm bringing this up because, without litigating it, one could argue that the Vatican was not the best friend to the Jewish people during the Second World War. Let's just leave it at that. And then the third one is my favorite of the 4, I think. It's 1980 film Robert Redford's Ordinary People, which is sort of a weird pick because the first 2 are big, fat, famous movies. Ordinary People is a famous movie, and it did win the Oscar in 1980 over Raging Bull. But it's not like, a mega hit. But it's a very, if you've never seen Ordinary People, it's a very good, have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, well, it's a very nice, no, it's not, it's very sad, but it's a very well-told story. It's directed by Robert Redford about an upper-class family, and there is a tragedy. There's a boating accident, and the older brother dies, and the younger brother blames himself, and he's suicidal. And it was made in 1980, so it was a very early look at mental health It was somewhat revolutionary in that, which is what I'm getting to, because the family is played by Mary Tyler Moore, who, against type, because she was, of course, known strictly for humor, and she's a very stern, cold, of course, she's grieving woman. And then Donald Sutherland as the father, and Timothy Hutton is the son, the boy who's going through the crisis. His girlfriend is Elizabeth McGovern, blah, blah, blah. But his shrink is Judd Hirsch, a big Jewy Judd Hirsch, a mega Jew. This was one of, when I was a kid seeing this film, a little too young to see it in the theaters, but watching it on VHS, it was like, my uncle on the screen, a big bear-hugging shrink of a Jew that's going to help young Timothy Hutton overcome his mental anguish. So Ordinary People is a big shout out to the Jews, and Pope Leo now, he loves it too. So that's nice. And then the fourth one is an interesting pick, because I'm not so fond of the film, but it is a Holocaust film, Roberto Benigni's Life is Beautiful, which came out in 1997, which was a big deal upon its release. It won the Best Foreign Language Oscar, and it won the lead performer, Roberto Benigni, the Best Acting Oscar. And it's a troubling movie. Have you seen this one?
I have. I saw it several times, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was studying Jewish studies at Indiana University, and the Holocaust was a major part of it. So, yeah,
for sure.
I definitely saw that.
Yeah, it's a weird film because it is a comedy set in the concentration camps, and it's a fable. It's about, for those who are blanking on it, it's about it's a Jewish family in Italy, a father and son, Roberto Benigni and this little tyke, and they get whisked away to the camps. And the boy has no idea what's going on. So the father, in an effort to protect the innocence of his son, pretends that the concentration camps is like one big game, like an obstacle course, and they have to follow the rules of the soldiers. And he's just kind of convinces everybody around him to play along, and it's very wacky. The first half of the movie is just a straight up comedy, and Roberto Benigni is a very, very funny comedian. He's made some very good Charlie Chaplin-esque films prior. One specifically called Johnny Stecchino, which translates as Johnny Toothpick. It's a mob comedy, very, very funny. And so the first half of Life is Beautiful is very nice. It's like a romantic comedy, whatever. And then it downshifts into this Holocaust farce. It was made with the purest of intentions, the most purity of heart. It was not meant to be offensive. I personally found it just kind of felt weird. And at first, it's actually very funny. When it came out, 97, right? I think it was 97. But prior to the internet, when you wanted to talk about movies with your friends, you had to go to a bar or something. I remember liking it because I thought it is very funny. It's very warm and emotional. And then I went out with a friend, and a friend of mine hated it. A friend of mine at the time, who I went with, is German, not Jewish, and was just morally opposed to the film, and was explaining to me, the Jew, why I should feel bad. And he kind of made a very convincing argument. Nevertheless, people who haven't seen it can look at it and make up their own minds about it. I think most people do like it, and it's interesting. Anyhow, those are the four. So like I say, the Pope mentioned 4 movies, and 3 of them are 2 of them are explicitly anti-Nazi, and one of them has Judd Hirsch. So Pope likes our movies. What can I say? And these are the 4 that, in theory, if you are a believing Catholic anywhere on the globe, if you live in Latin America somewhere and you are renting a movie, you're going to go through the Pope's picks. Why not?
Wow, that's crazy. The Pope's picks, that definitely could be a category on Netflix or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. They should collect the 4. Now, the other very interesting thing the Pope did, and the Pope, like I say, he is infallible. He gave a rousing speech to many Hollywood celebs, like I mentioned, and big shot producers, and also people who work just in the film industry. There were some people that I know were there that kind of work at festivals that were summoned to the Vatican, which is kind of fun. And he gave a rousing speech about the importance of art. And, he said all the things you would expect him to say about being righteous and making films that are good for humanity. And then he gave a quote, which I found kind of funny. And I'll read you the quote very quickly. He said, he used quote, "What the modern movie lacks is beauty, the beauty of the moving wind in the trees." And that was a quote from a pioneering film director by the name of David Wark Griffith, D.W. Griffith. Now, D.W. Griffith is a very important pioneering, innovative film director from back in the early days of cinema. One of the foundational film directors. He also was a horrible man, a flagrant, passionate racist. And he made the film The Birth of a Nation is right. One of the big famous movies, which is, if you watch it, a shockingly racist film that one can argue reignited the Ku Klux Klan. Like the Ku Klux Klan was a thing that existed. It kind of died out. He made this film and people were like, wow, we should do that again. And they did. And he was unrepentant about it. In fact, his follow-up film was a movie called Intolerance, which is actually quite good. It's 4 hours long. And it was him getting up on his hind legs saying like, why are you criticizing me? It wasn't like only 20, 30, 40 years later did people suspect that Birth of a Nation was racist. People were boycotting it at the time in 1915 or whenever it came out. And he got up on his hind legs and he was very defensive. He's not a righteous man. His views on cinema are fine, and he's talented. Leni Riefenstahl was talented also, the Nazi film director. It's just shocking to me that the Pope had an opportunity to throw a layup. He could have quoted anybody about cinema. You know, Steven Spielberg doesn't have a nice quote he could find. Alfred Hitchcock even, or just Roger Ebert, me, for God's sakes, anybody. Go read the Old Times of Israel articles I've written. And he quoted D.W. Griffith, and everybody was like, oh, geez, he's supposed to be the cool Pope. What's going on here? You know, because he seems to be, you know, kind of reforming. And so a lot of people just kind of brushed it under the rug there, you know. So I, being a pain in the ass, wanted to make sure everybody knew that he quoted D.W. Griffith.
That's so interesting, Jordan. Okay, fantastic. We are going to go to a short break, and then we're going to talk about our 2 movie selections.
On October 7, I was here at the Nova Music Festival. I ran for my life, hid for 7 hours. Terrorists shot me twice. Thankfully, I survived. I'm still dealing with trauma, and I'm not alone. 3 million Israelis are in trauma. They need mental health care or physical rehabilitation. Wounded soldiers, families, and scared children.
Since 1912, Hadassah has been a life-changing force in Israel. Today, Hadassah has 2 world-renowned hospitals, pioneers breakthrough medical research, cares for youth, and has built the much-needed and largest rehabilitation facility in Jerusalem.
Thank you to everyone at Hadassah Hospitals. You've been helping me, and so many others. And a special thanks to one nurse, my mom. I love you.
And we're back. I'm Amanda Borschel-Dan here with our movie maven. Okay, I should stop using that. Jordan Hoffman. So we watched 2 movies this week. One is called Bad Jews, which came out...
No, Bad Shabbos.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Bad Shabbos, which came out in the spring. Yeah. And the other is called The History of the World, Part 1. And I would like to start with Bad Shabbos because...
Bad Shabbos.
Just to give you a spoiler, Jordan, I think you're not going to like me so much after we talk about the Mel Brooks film. No. Starting with Bad Shabbos, let me just give you my very quick take on it. We loved it. My husband and I loved it. And his highest praise was, this was so good, it could have been an Israeli film. Okay, so what does that mean? He's Israeli,
that is a good question. I'd like to know what that means, yeah.
What does that mean? It means it seemed like it was a slightly low budget type film, but the storyline and the character development and everything about it was just so fantastic, working within their limitations. And it also kind of felt in a way that it could have been a play, meaning you could have been watching this from an audience and enjoying it just as much. We laughed so hard, which is kind of ridiculous because it is just very quickly about an accidental death right before a Shabbat dinner, where the son of the family, or the first son of the family's Goyish fiance who's trying to convert, her parents who are flat out not trying to convert ever, they are coming for their very first Shabbat dinner.
Right.
And the setup in itself is funny, right? Even though the person died, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
the guy who
really
dies is also
making him completely a terrible person. And
you're not too sad when he dies. He dies accidentally, but it is kind of one of our main characters' fault. He doesn't kill him, but he sets into motion a series of wacky incidents that ends up killing the guy. Yeah, he doesn't mean to kill him, but what he does is he slips the guy some high grade laxatives because he's mad at this guy because he's a jackass. And when he races to the toilet, he's in what he did not know is that the guy also had colitis. So like these laxatives are like powering through him like a train. So he's like racing to the bathroom and he's like unbuckling his pants. And it's this scene where it's like, oh my God, because his stomach is making all these noises. Like, oh my God, is he going to get on the bowl in time before he soils himself? That's sort of the high drama of this sequence. And he's racing and he gets his feet kind of caught on the carpet. He slips and he smashes his head on the sink and he dies. So it's not really the guy's fault, but it's also... It's not his fault. So. But
does, Jordan, I just have to say, confirm my long-held belief that there should never be rugs in bathrooms on slippery tile?
You should put a rug, like a little rubber mat under the rug. Exactly. I mean, that's what we have. We have in our estate here at Casa de Hoffman. We do have some rugs, and they always have rubbery things underneath. As I know, because when it's my job to vacuum, I inevitably get them stuck on the vacuum cleaner because I'm moving them around and I start yelling and screaming and my wife has to come and rescue me. So Bad Shabbos. Well, it is true. It is a lower budget film. It could have been a play. Like I would not be surprised if I read that that it began its life as a play and then was workshopped and was made into an independent film. It does not have too many quote unquote famous people in it. The mother is played by Kira Sedgwick. She's probably the biggest name. She's kind of a nasty piece of work. I didn't like her very much.
In the film, you mean?
Well, you're not supposed to like her in the film, and I kind of felt that she was a poorly written character, actually. Like
really?
a bit of a caricature.
Disagree.
Really?
Totally
okay.
disagree. I really saw her arc going through, and I think, one of the situations is that, as I mentioned, the fiance is not Jewish, but she is converting, and the mother is having a hard time grappling with this. And you're married to a non-Jew, if I'm allowed to say that.
You're allowed,
and my family history is so weird that you'll have to read the book one day when I write it.
I know Canada's involved at one point. I know
Canada is involved at one point.
Yeah.
But there can be this tension between, in the interfaith thing. And I think it took the mother, this crisis to get past that.
Yes, there can be a problem, but I felt like it was a little heavy-handed. Like, why would she be coming back every week for a Shabbat dinner to get abused like that? Like the mother already said her piece once. It felt a little old school. It felt a little like previous generations. I feel like a modern, a modern Jewish mom would say, I would prefer if she were Jewish, but she's not. And I've said my piece and now I'm going to move on. But
I'm not so sure about that, Jordan, okay. Especially since they're playing Orthodox, meaning they're not just, and
well, I do have that brings up a very important point, and I wanted to slam the brakes for a second, real quick, because I am not Orthodox, but I like to try to keep aware of all the rules and regs, and the parents are very insistent that their kids don't drive on Shabbat. But that becomes like a big revelation. Is like, oh my God, she drove on Shabbat. But they also are like encouraging the kids to take an Uber on Shabbat. Now, I don't know if I'm not mistaken. You're not supposed to ride in a car. You're not supposed to drive, but you're also not supposed to ride. Isn't that the case, that you're supposed to walk?
Well, I'm not a rabbi. Neither do I play one on TV.
Yeah.
So I guess this could be a TV in a way if you're watching this installment. My understanding is, for example, if you purchase a ticket on mass transportation before Shabbat, and there's an Eruv in the city, and send the letters. Fine, correct me, all of you. And if you have it in your clothing, this ticket, and you don't need to actually beep or something like that in some kind of machine, then it could be that an Orthodox Jew would take the mass transport. You have to, of course, be in a certain framework of extreme modern Orthodoxy to enjoy this kind of thing. Or you set up a ride ahead of Shabbat, or and so that's what it is. Afterwards, things of that nature.
Which you could do on an Uber. You would pre-order, say, come pick me up at Friday at 6:12 p.m. and it's in the app, and you prepay. Can't hail a taxi, but you could pre-order an Uber.
You see, I don't know from Uber, but yes, that sounds about right.
I mean, yeah, okay. Well, that's cool, and it makes sense. And of course, yes, the Eruv. I mean, all of New York City's got it's under the dome of righteousness, as they call it, the string. So, all right, that's interesting. All right, that answers the question, and I like that. So anyhow, backing up, I was just mentioning some of the names in the film. Kira Sedgwick as the mom. The father is played by David Paymer, who's not a household name, but if you saw that his face, you go, "Oh, that guy!" And he's very funny in this. He's a big, real funny guy, quoting the Talmud and whatnot. Yep. The main character's sister is played by an actress named Melania Weintraub, who's very, very funny. She doesn't have that much to do in this, but I love her in general. She's in a very, very funny science fiction comedy called Other Space. And then the doorman, who kind of comes in to save the day and also cause trouble, is played by Method Man, who is a well-known hip-hop star. I believe he is a member of the Wu-Tang Clan. Method Man, is he one of the members of the Wu-Tang Clan? He may or may not be. And, it is... It's not reinventing the wheel, but it is always funny when you get like a cool, tough black guy saying like Mazel Tov or Good Shabbos. It happens a lot in movies where it always works, So he's everybody's pal, and he's like, hey buddy, and he's like, got the menorah. He's like, it's going to be lit, It's kind of dopey, but he's kind of funny in it. So,
and it felt to me very New York in a way that I've never really lived, but have kind of admired in a way. I mean, this whole doorman thing, and then you have the very rich white, Jewish lady with her fur coat walking in and out, and kind of grunting here and there and not being pleasant. And,
yes, the movie is set on the Upper West Side, 93rd and Riverside. It is a very, very Jewish neighborhood. It's not exclusive; you don't have to be Jewish to live there, but and a very wealthy area, and it's all set kind of around the building, in the building, and in their very, very luxurious duplex apartment. And it's the three kids, the daughter, who I mentioned, the main character, who's got the shiksa girlfriend, who's lovely, and then the youngest son, who has got all kinds of mental mishigas, and he's obsessed with the IDF and wears IDF t-shirts and does a lot of push-ups and whatnot, and occasionally spouts out some Hebrew, which is kind of amusing. So it is a funny movie. I did not like it quite as much as you did, but I'm going to say that probably you don't watch as many of these independently produced, lower budget, wacky family movies set in an apartment. Although they're not always
ever as many.
Right. They're not always quite so Jewish. But these movies are, and I say this with respect to the filmmakers, there are 25 of these released a year that play at festivals, and they are kind of similar. Now, that being said, I do recommend the movie in the following way. Next week is the American holiday of Thanksgiving, right? So a lot of American Jews will have family members come over, spend the night, what should we do after dinner? Should we sit around and play backgammon, have some tea? Hey, maybe we could watch a movie. Bad Shabbos is a great movie for a Jewish family to watch together. It's not too serious. There's funny zings. The dad will say something, oh, that reminds me of something Uncle Hank used to say. And this is key. It's a good movie, but it's not a masterpiece. So like if some of your cousins are talking during it, or if you have to run up and go to the bathroom real quick, you don't have to hit pause. That may sound a little bit like a left-handed compliment. And it's not a B plus at best, but it serves a function. It's a really funny movie for Jews, and certainly non-Jews will like it too, but I think Jews will really get a kick out of it. But it is not something that you need to watch in great attention. It's not going to bum you out. It's not Schindler's List. It's not an important film. It's just a light, silly, frothy thing. And it's short. It's over like in 98 minutes. So,
which I love Jordan,
yeah, right? Exactly. So yeah. I can't say that I was overwhelmed with joy at it, but simply because I'm in this game more and I'm seeing a lot of these types of independently produced movies, independently distributed movies. I will say it did quite well in theaters. It overperformed because exactly what I said. It's like it's good enough, and Jewish audiences that are looking for things to see, the word of mouth, and it did quite well at the box office. It didn't make $100 million, but it did quite well for its size.
Okay,
so that's
Jordan,
that's Bad
you give
Shabbos.
it a B plus. I would give it solid
let's say
A.
B.
For sure, solid A in our books. My book, for sure. We were howling with laughter. Some of these scenes, especially because, let me just, not a total spoiler, but you remember the vibe from My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Yeah. It's similar. Yeah,
vibe, it's this vibe where these non-Jews are being introduced to Judaism, and they're being introduced to all these very fake practices. And it's just hilarious because
it's a strict,
how ridiculous we can seem through the eyes of the non-Jews, and it's just great.
Yeah,
so
what
for
it
that,
is,
I give it an A.
It's a vaudeville type shtick scene where they have to keep, so the parents are there and they have to keep not spoiling it, but they have to keep their eyes closed so they can run around and accomplish little goals. So at first they do the bracha over the wine or whatever, and that's normal, that's legit. But to a non-Jew, it sounds like they're saying hocus pocus over the wine. And then it's like, oh my God, we got to get him to cover his eyes. He goes, so now we do this chant, and you cover your eyes and you say this, and they're making stuff up.
Don't spoil.
It's not a spoiler. It's just to say they're doing this wacky stuff. It's like straight up, like goofy Abbott and Costello type shtick, and it's just it's put through a Jewish lens. So yeah, it's amusing. I can't say that I was howling at it, but what I can say was I see what they did there. It's they kind of went through the motions. It's now we insert joke, 32X. This is a joke vehicle scenario. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, Bad Shabbos, but it's amusing. What I do want to talk about, you loved it more than I did. Okay, I
loved it more than you, and I want to pick up on this idea of vaudeville and take us to our second movie.
Yeah,
and it's The History of the World Part 1, and I say this with greatest respect. The greatest respect. And so I say it like this: nostalgia is a very powerful feeling, and it's very important to continue to honor the traditions of your childhood and to love them and cherish them. Mm-hmm. But we came into this movie like every other movie, knowing nothing about this, and there were certain issues that we had with it. Let me point to them. Number one, there's no plot, which is
it's a collection of stories.
Okay, if you don't know that going in, you're kind of looking for a storyline. There is none. Okay. And my husband, generally when he falls asleep, I might wake him up. So he fell asleep within the first 5 to 10 minutes when it's all just cavemen, and you're like, why am I watching this? And should I put it on double speed? I don't know.
Oh no.
And I didn't. I watched the whole thing on regular speed. Proud of myself for that.
Yeah.
And in any case, he fell asleep, and then he did wake up when they hit Rome.
That's the best part.
We're stuck in Rome for gazillion years, and the film is about 100 and I don't know. It's an hour and a half, something like that.
Yeah, should be 10 times longer.
Oh, Jordan, no. And really, I mean, neither of us could latch onto it. We both fell asleep as we usually do. And then this morning, because I am a good student, I got up and I had more energy this morning, and I finished watching the 50 minutes that were remaining.
Good.
Yeah. And I saw it a little differently because I said to myself, as I was walking the dogs, there has to be a reason why so many people like this film, because I'm not seeing it yet. I mean, we'd watched up until 40 minutes and not laughed or smiled even once.
No.
And then I got to the part of the Inquisition. And that was just a masterpiece, and it made the whole situation worthwhile because, honestly, even after that, I would skip it because it's just sex jokes, fart jokes, stuff like that, where you're just so juvenile. There's no finesse to it. But then I had two things in mind. Vaudeville, think of it. If it were like on stage, sure, it's at the level of my high school little skits that my classmates perform. Fine. But imagine it on stage with that kind of energy. Great. Yeah. And then the Inquisition and just that homage.
The musical number,
which is an homage to all of the great films that I watched with my father while he was snoring when I was a child. And it was just brilliance.
Well, you have heard of Mel Brooks before, right? I mean,
of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
He, and it's not just me saying this, but it is, he does have a style. And if it's like cilantro. Some people think it tastes like soap and some people think it tastes lovely. I suppose that Mel Brooks...
Some people have mothers-in-law who found out that cilantro was going to be included in the wedding feast, and she phoned all her relatives telling them to bring sandwiches. Some people have that mother-in-law.
Okay. I'm not going to ask who, but I have a hunch. Well, so Mel Brooks certainly is an acquired taste if you're not into it, but I think he's very funny, and I think this is his best film, more so than even Blazing Saddles or Young Frankenstein, because it is also just the most Jewish. I think that the sequence when it's Jesus's Last Supper and Mel Brooks is the waiter is probably the finest comedy sequence on film. It is 5.5 minutes of absolute perfection, of just one dumb joke after another. The disciples are there. They're speaking in a very holy manner. They're quoting straight from the New Testament, which is a book that is very important to a great many people on this planet. And then you cut to Mel Brooks and he says, "Are you doing separate checks?" This to me is very funny. Then he comes back again to interrupt and says, "Who wanted the soup?" So to me, I just feel that this is a perfect way for, I'm being even a little bit serious now. It's the history of the world, as the movie says. It starts with the cavemen, and it goes, and then ancient Rome, and then the French Revolution, and all this. But just how would, from the point of view of a zingy, zetsy Jew, from the outskirts of society looking in, how does he implement himself? How does a Jew work himself into the story of the Last Supper? And the answer is he's the waiter, right? I know Jesus was a Jew and so were the disciples, but you know what I mean? A modern Jew, an LA Hollywood Jew. I just think the whole thing is very funny, and just the jokes are just sort of foundational. Moses, Mel Brooks as Moses coming down from the mountain with 3 slab tablets. "I bring thee these 15, drops a tablet, smashes into 1,000,000 pieces. Oi, 10 commandments. That's pretty good. I mean, that's like a basic, perfect joke.
Think of the Inquisition scene a little bit. It was just all of that, but done properly is how I would say it. And I mean, not to be rude, but for instance, there's Jackie Mason is in there, and he's talking with some other guy that you probably know the name of. And it's just, it's the best patter you would want, and the timing is perfect, and the music, and I mean, it's just really perfection, that scene. The rest of the movie, I'm like, oh, clever, or trying to be clever, or, like whatever, okay, fine. But as we say here, not my taste,
Wow.
Not on me.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, Jews in space at the end when they go to the future and it's like Star Wars.
Okay, that was pretty good too. Yeah.
There you go. All right. I mean, I just like that when he's in Rome, he's a quote unquote stand-up philosopher. He's a comic. He's going to play comicus, and he's going to play Caesar's Palace. Madeline Kahn is there, and Gregory Hines, the Ethiopian Shimsham, and all that stuff.
That's the other thing that kind of bothered me, because these are people, actors that, I mean, it came out in 1981. I don't know if we mentioned that, and that's important to reference, because a lot of the popular culture stuff that they were drawing from is like Star Wars, which was, new-ish, at least at that point, and things of that nature. So that's really important. But we had Dom DeLuise, we had Madeline Kahn, and Gregory Hines, whom I love, each and every one of them, not in this, I would say. So,
I don't know. I mean, Madeline Kahn is so good. She's the I don't know, the Empress or whatever, and she's got her harem there, and she does a little song, and and then they have to. Yeah, there is a big erection joke. Well, there's a joke. It's a little bit not PC, so I won't repeat it. But there's a pun that is which I did not get as a kid, and then later it's how Gregory Hines gets found out due to his tumescence in response to the sexy dancer, which, when I eventually dawned on me what that joke meant, really was quite funny. I'm sure some astute listeners know what I'm talking about. I don't know what to say. You can't argue someone into liking a Mel Brooks movie if they don't like it. That's just the way it is. Some people love Mel Brooks. He's a style of humor. Some people love Woody Allen. Some people don't. It's comedy that makes a very specific statement. I will say, though, I must defend my earlier position and think that, as silly as it may sound, I do think that this is an important Jewish text, that to look at the highlights of history and refract it through a lens, not just a Jewish lens, but a specific sort of like Jewish comedy, 20th century Jewish comedy perspective that is a little bit vituperative, like, we're putting us in the story, that to me, I think, and the French Revolution also, the king is Mel Brooks plays the king. He's like, hey, it's good to be the king. It's just kind of, I don't know. I find it to be in a weird way, strangely meaningful and important to me. What that says about me, I don't know. But
no, I think also, how old were you when you watched it the first
Yes,
time?
I saw when I was probably 10 or 12 or something, and I shouldn't have, because it was a little dirty. Yeah. Unlike Young Frankenstein, which is probably the most kid-friendly of the classic Mel Brooks films. That's the one that you probably should show your kids first. It's very silly. And then Blazing Saddles has a lot of racial humor. It's always on the side of good. It was co-written by Richard Pryor. And but there's a lot of N-words thrown around in that. But always, the bad guys say the N-word, and the good guys are on the side of racial equality, including Gene Wilder as Cleavon Little's best buddy. But
okay,
it is
Jordan. In some, like, as the busy mother, working mother, I would not recommend this film to anyone, but I would give them a link, a YouTube link, if there is one, to this specific.
Just the scene of the Well, it sounds to me like you really like The Producers, because the musical version of The Producers. There were two versions of The Producers. He made the film in 1968, I believe, and then in the late 90s, early 2000s, he made the Broadway version of it, and then there was a film version of that Broadway play, which has all the songs. The original version of The Producers only had the one song, which is Springtime for Hitler. So the musical version of The Producers, which came out after the early 2000s, might be for you, because it's the same silly story with more songs.
Listen, I'm open to watching anything, and I do promise that I'll watch it at normal speed.
Yeah.
But
all right, it didn't do it for you.
Yeah,
okay.
It didn't do it for me. And please, I'm happy to get emails on this. And
I'm sure, I'm off the hook this week. I think I'm the good guy. Last week, like I alluded to earlier, I did make a fact-checking error in something, and we got some responses. But next week, I think it's all on you. Maybe now's a good time, Amanda, for us to tease what I think our audience should watch for next week. We may only do one film next week. We may do something new also if a documentary or something comes across the transom. But our classic film for next week is going to be well-timed because I believe next week is American Thanksgiving, right? I hope so. Oh, wait, is it next week or the week after? I never know.
I'd like to point out you're the one who lives in the States.
I know, but I'm also the one whose wife tells him everything about when things are. Yeah, next week is Thanksgiving. That's right. So there are two. Actually, it's funny. There are two great American Jewish movies that are touched on Thanksgiving. So should this podcast last a year, next year we'll do the other one. Next year we'll do Woody Allen's Hannah and Her Sisters, which is one of Woody Allen's 5 best movies. And a lot of it is set at Thanksgiving. Like the book, it's bookended by Thanksgiving. However, next week we're going to watch Barry Levinson's Avalon. Now, Amanda, you've never seen Barry Levinson's Avalon. Okay.
I do wonder, Jordan, just thinking out loud, is Hannah and Her Sisters, is Diane Keaton in that one?
No, it's one of the ones where she's not.
So never mind. That's because she wasn't in honor of her.
In honor of her. We can honor Diane Keaton later in the year. I'm fine with honoring her. She's wonderful. Yeah. Avalon, I will give you no information about, except I'm going to say this. This is all I'm going to say. Imagine Bad Shabbos, but not a low-budget play transferred to film. Imagine Bad Shabbos as a lush, decade-spanning, big-budget, gorgeously art-directed, big production. And that's all I'll say. And I have, if you go through the TOI archives, because I have been writing 4 Times of Israel on and off since I believe 2014. I have referenced this film several times when I've spoken to, film scholars. I've done a lot of interviews with film scholars and curators and Jewish archivists and whatnot. It always comes up as well, as you see in Barry Levinson's Avalon, blah, blah, blah. So it's been touched upon before. You have edited phrases of mine that have touched upon it. Now it's time for you to finally see it.
All right. I'm up for the challenge, Jordan.
Yeah. And, I think the audience...
Said, maybe a documentary as well. Something, 90 minutes or less.
We're gonna do our best, but we will not make promises. And but the audience should, if they've never seen it, they simply must. And if they haven't seen it since it came out in 1990, or maybe they saw it on video once 10 years later, I would imagine it's, most of these films are you can get for $4 on Apple or Amazon. I don't know where you can find it, but you can find it. Or if you've got a teenage kid, they can find any old movie for you. You didn't hear me say that, but all teenage kids know how to find new movies. Is tougher to find, but a movie like Avalon, you should pay the $4 if you can. That's my official statement, even though it's going to Amazon and that's Schnorr or Jeff Bezos. But if you can't find it that way, it's not so hard.
All right, Jordan, we have to go because my dog Misha wants in, and that's just, he's the king.
All right, good.
So thank you, Jordan. As always, such a pleasure to speak with you every week now.
Okay, good. We'll talk next week.
Thanks for listening to the Times of Israel's Reel Schmooze. Please drop us an email with any of your comments or questions or chastisements to me over my comments to podcast@timesofisrael.com. This episode was produced by the Podwaves. Until next week, shalom.